Hello, and welcome to Autism Network Scotland's new vlog, In Conversation with Neil. Today, we're having a conversation with Tanya Tennant, who is an autism consultant. Good afternoon, Tanya.
Good afternoon, Neil.
And just as we start then, would it be possible for you to tell me a bit more about yourself and what your role is, what you do and things?
Yeah, so hi Neil, I'm Tanya, obviously. So yeah, I run my own autism training and consultancy business. So that's my day job. But my past history working in the field of autism dates back about 22, 23 years now. So I started my autism career, if you like, working with the National Autistic Society. And when I was with them, I did a variety of roles, from supporting children and teens in residential care, supporting them in education, and also supporting children to transition into adult services. But most of the work I did with them was around family support, and that's what I'm really passionate about. So I built my business around that when I left the National Autistic Society. Yeah. So that's a wee bit about me professionally, but I also have a personal background to autism. So I myself have a diagnosis of autism, which I got when I was 40, so 7 years ago now. Yeah, and I have 2 children, one of which, my son Daniel, has a diagnosis of autism and OCD. So we have a very personal link to autism as well as a professional one.
Do you have any advice for parents who've maybe just received a diagnosis themselves or have youngsters who've received a diagnosis this year in how best to cope with being autistic over Christmas?
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of links back to the things that I've said as difficulties, really. So, like, the first one would be definitely lots of preparation for the changes around Christmas. So, get in touch with school, ask them what the school plan is. When are they starting to talk about Christmas? What kind of things are they doing in the school? And make sure, you have all that information so that aside from school time, you can support your child with understanding the changes that are going to happen before they go to school in the morning, or what to expect. Yeah. Also, like preparing for changes at home, using visuals, social stories. We find calendars very, very helpful, where we, when they were younger, we would mark Christmas Day on the calendar and count down sleeps. We might have pictures of who's visiting on Christmas Day on the calendar, so that they had lots of kind of time to process this change that was about to happen around Christmas. And I think calendars can be ideal for that, marking down, shopping days, or if there's something, when the tree goes up, when it's coming down, all them kind of things. So really utilising that kind of visual support, yeah. Also involving them in the preparation. So, get, like I just said with us, get them involved in putting the decorations up, choosing decorations for the tree, maybe having a part to play in some of the different things that happen at school that year, and giving them a job to do, within that kind of Christmas celebration. Some children really like that, some don't. One of the biggest things would be, like, we don't always cope with, sometimes we can cope better with the bigger changes if our smaller routines stay in place. So I think as much as there's all this change going on around Christmas, try and keep all them small routines that are intrinsic throughout the day in place. So, you know, what time we get up, what time we have breakfast, when do we have lunch, dinner, bedtime, all of them kind of things. And the smaller routines at school as well, because, you know, it's the small routines that make the difference, really, yeah. Probably as well, if you're out and about in the community, think about utilising kind of sensory strategies. So, for example, if you had a child who was oversensitive to hearing, can you take ear defenders or music that they can play out with you? If they're oversensitive to all the Christmas lights, can you have sunglasses or a hat or a hoodie to drown out some of that information? Is there something that they can have on them, like a twiddle toy that, you know, they could hyper focus on? We know that if you can hyper focus your sensory system, sometimes it drowns out all the other information. So that could be quite helpful. And really putting these things together in a sensory bag that you carry about with you, or it's available in the home throughout Christmas Day. More so if they're struggling with something, they have the tools there to change that sensory environment for themselves. You know, it's empowering them to change something that they're struggling with, yeah. Other things would be like, sometimes people can find it helpful if you have a wee practice run of Christmas. So like maybe a silly kind of example, but maybe like the week before Christmas, you have a Christmas cracker with your dinner, and you know, you build up to being able to pull a Christmas cracker, or maybe you set the table with the kind of Christmas cutlery and plates and your tablecloth and whatever. So, you know, just building up gradually to Christmas by having a wee practice of different things, yeah. Another thing would be, some people don't cope with a lot of presents. I know we want to buy them loads of presents because it's Christmas and Santa's coming, and Santa's very, yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? I forget the word I'm looking for. Like when somebody's, sorry, Neil.
Generous.
Generous! That's it, yeah. Right, I'll say that again, yeah. So yeah, maybe something else to consider is the amount of presents that we give them. So I know, like around Christmas, you know, and particularly this year, it's been a really tough year, and we might, you know, be in a situation where we want to buy them more presents, Santa being very generous. But some autistic children and adults might not cope with more presents, you know. So it's thinking about it from your child's perspective, really. Daniel won't cope with a lot of things to open, so we're trying not to get carried away. Of course, that's not going to be the case for some families. So some families might find it's a much tougher Christmas, and their child's not getting as many presents as they would typically get as well. So I think we have to think about it from both sides, don't we? But definitely in terms of presents, like if they're like Daniel and they get stressed about what they're opening, you know, there are different options for wrapping presents. So you could wrap them with paper and they can't see what's in it. Or I've seen some people before wrap a present, but there's a picture of what's in it on the wrapping paper. So you can look at that picture, process it, and then you know what you're unwrapping. Or some people as well have opened up their presents and they're wrapped with cellophane, so it's see-through and they know exactly what they're getting. I know when I was younger, what I used to do was get up a couple of hours before my mum and dad, and I would rip wee tiny holes in the side of presents and try and peek through them to get an idea about what was in it. And then I would go back to bed. And then when my mum and dad got up, I already knew what was in all the parcels, but they didn't know that I knew. So I got myself ready for opening the parcels and had the appropriate response when I opened them, because I'd lay in bed practicing it. So yeah, I would have coped a lot better with cellophane wrap presents, definitely, and probably now as an adult as well. Yeah. And then other things would be make sure there are options for that quiet space. That is going to be super important because it's just so overwhelming. And if you do go out like into shops and things at Christmas for shopping with your children or as an autistic adult, make sure that you always build in, recovery time after that, because going into community and experiencing all this sensory Christmas joy that is around can be absolutely exhausting from a social interaction point of view. And, if they then come home and we expect them to tidy their bedroom or you're expected to make dinner as an autistic adult, maybe that might be a bit unachievable. Maybe what they want is some recovery time first, and then you can deal with tidying the bedroom or me making dinner later on. Yeah. And also, yeah, just like in terms of support, because we spoke about supports finishing, maybe trying to find ways to maintain some of that support over Christmas. So it could be over text, over email, that you keep in touch with your support workers. Or, over this year, we've got really good at Zoom and Microsoft Teams. So, you can check in for 10 minutes with your support worker on Zoom maybe, and that might be enough to kind of keep it going. Yeah. And then I just say this again, because this is one of the things that we really struggle with in our house. Just being mindful that after Christmas is by and you put everything back in the box and into the loft, that person is possibly going to struggle with that change as well. So as much as we need like the preparation for change on the lead up to Christmas, we also might need it on the way out of Christmas as well. Yeah, so they would be my kind of top tips, I think. Yeah. Do you have any other kind of tips that you would put in place, Neil? What helps you over Christmas?
Not really, because my top tips for helping over Christmas was I'm an avid cook and I lock myself in the kitchen for 3 days. And that's
Yeah,
how I cope with it. I just do, in a strange way, go into hyper busy mode and I just do all the cooking.
yeah, I can relate to that, Neil. Yeah,
I mean, this Christmas is going to be different because it's going to be the first Christmas where we've not had family.
yeah,
Usually we have either my sister or some other family, and because of COVID and the fact that most of our families moved away, it's just going to be my parents and I. So there is talk more of us going for a kind of it's a normal day and just do what we'd normally do, but have a slightly more fancy meal with a Christmas hat and a cracker. I mean, we're not giving each other big presents because we've all decided what we wanted and it's all been bought already and already given or already used.
yeah,
Kind of how it works in our household is give me something I need, not something I, don't need. And I always ask my folks, I always say to them, what would you like for Christmas? Because I'd rather spend the money on something you like than spending a lot of money on something you'll never use. Would you then feel really bad about taking back and returning?
Yeah. See, I can do that with my mum and dad because they understand that we're autistic, obviously. So I can do that. But it's other people that we really struggle with who you maybe can't have that kind of open conversation with. I need you to tell me what you want for Christmas and I'll go out and buy that then. Yeah. So we're the same as you in terms of that, actually, Neil. They're the things that would help us. Yeah. And I think like something else that you said as well, like so for some autistic people, maybe what's happened this year with not having, the opportunity to have lots of people round to your house, that might be the best thing ever that's happened to them because like you said, they can have that kind of normal daily routine that they used to just with a fancier dinner or whatever. But yeah, for other families who are used to the routine of everybody coming round, that might be quite upsetting, I'm guessing. Yeah. Where it's affecting me is that I would rather people didn't come but there's an expectation for other family members that they follow the routine and do come. So I'm having to kind of mask my way through that at the moment, yeah. But also, like you, Neil, I stay in the kitchen, mostly cooking. Yeah, so we're very similar that way.
Good to hear. I mean, it is, for me, it's always been a difficult time of year, for anyone who's an Aspie. And because I didn't get my diagnosis till I was in my 30s, and I'm still in my 30s, I did a vast number of Christmases with huge numbers of family members and really hating it and not understanding why. So
yeah,
at least now I do, and I'm more able to cope than not.
Yeah. We were like that as well, because when Mark and I got married, obviously all the grandparents were still still here, and so it was a bigger affair. But as we get older and our grandparents have passed away, the family kind of units got smaller, and as much as I would love them still to be here, it does suit us in some ways because we don't have them big family gatherings anymore. Yeah, so again, I relate to that quite a lot, Neil.
It's always something that's interesting to watch. I've got, multiple friends who are married with kids, and I'm talking about going home to my parents, and they're not talking about going anywhere because their family unit's changed now, and their family unit is them and their kids.
Yeah.
And Granny and Grandpa might come over for a visit, but they're not all going to Granny and Grandpa's house.
Yeah.
It's just such an interesting way to look at things and see how the autistic individual can differ greatly from the neurotypical in how they view Christmas. Yeah,
definitely. We're not going to see my mum and dad this year. They've decided that they're going to stay and they're socially distancing because my dad's really ill, so they've decided that they're not going to visit people on Christmas and we won't see them. They're going to stay at their caravan over in Dumfries. So yeah, that's been kind of hard, but we know that we can see them on Zoom, and I guess that's one of the other big changes this year, isn't it? A lot of families might be meeting up over social media, and that's a big change for a lot of people too.
Well, I'll just say then, thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us today.
Thank you, Neil. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you once again for watching our vlog. As was discussed, Tanya runs her own training and autism consultancy. And if you wish further information about the wide variety of tailored support and expertise that she can offer to individuals and families, please contact her either through her website, as listed on screen, or through her email, also listed on screen.